Welcome back to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast, a show all about inspiring smart, busy women to put their happiness at the top of their to-do list. Join your host and life coach, Dion Thompson, as she chats with amazing women who have figured out how to make their happiness a priority, and more importantly, what it's really like to go from hot mess to awesomeness. And now, on with the show.
Welcome everyone to the Hot Mess to Awesomeness podcast. I am your host, Dion Thompson, and your friendly neighborhood life coach. I, as always, am sweaty, and I'm feeling really just fucking awesome right now. My guest, Michele Maher, we're going to talk about your song choices just for a second. So I was saying before we hit play and danced our butts off that I love when my guests have song choices that really resonate with me. And of course, the last song was Stevie Nicks. And I'm like, that is the energy that I needed today. So at recording this episode, I am in full woman on fire mode, getting everything ready for the event. And I haven't had a lot of time to do like the me stuff. And this dance party was well needed, and it was the perfect song choice for that. I feel super empowered. I feel like I have all the She-Ra energy in the world right now. And so thank you, Michele, for sharing that with me. And when I mentioned that, how much I love the song and how it was really what I needed, and you were like, yeah, and I got to shake her hand. So can we just, before we even get into like the real interview and all the other things we're going to talk about, can we just talk about that for a moment? You did what with the Who now?
Yep. So it was up at Casino Rama. I saw Stevie Nicks. I guess we saw her twice, and every time we would have 4 seats, and so you could go up to the front. They had a little area where you could stand. All this pre-COVID stuff.
Right.
Anyhow, I would always stand right at the front for the whole concert, and then of course, and then at the end, well, she came kind of across, and everybody was putting out their hand, and I shook her hand, and it was just awesome. Although it was a gloved hand, but now like and this whole shaking hands now is like another story. But
that's right.
But it was just awesome. What I have always really loved about her is the fact that she changes her clothes during the concert.
Oh.
And for me, it's like, if I were a performing artist on stage, I would be wearing different outfits all the time. I would change like 5 times during the concert or whatever. And she anyhow, she does that, when it's like the skirt that comes off and the pants are underneath, or something like that. And that's what I've always just really loved about her.
That is so awesome. What a great sort of, for me, a line into this idea of female driven energy, women who know what they want and are willing to put themselves out there and make that happen, because that's kind of you, my friend, which I'm excited to talk about, and to talk about the journey that you've taken, which is a pretty substantial one. And if you're watching right now, I'm sure you've already noticed the beautiful, beautiful jewelry that Michele is wearing. So we're going to talk about that and all of the beautiful pieces that are behind her, because she made all that. And but that's not what your life's always been about. It has taken some turns. So you and I met 3+ years ago. Time has lost all meaning for me now. So I want to say about 3 lifetimes ago, we met at a networking event, and I was absolutely captivated by, of course, the beautiful jewelry that you were wearing. And at the time I was planning my event, and we had chatted, and I thought, what a great addition, what a great compliment, you and I coming together, because your message for women is about really putting themselves first and putting what they want out into the world. And of course, that is definitely part of my mission and my goal for women everywhere. And having you as a vendor sponsor at the first 100 Women on Fire event was brilliant. It was such a people are still talking about your pieces because again, they are so distinctively you and unique and like nothing we've ever seen before. So Michele, tell us a little bit about you and what brought you to the place where I'm like drawn in and captivated by you, not just because of the jewelry, because of everything that you're bringing to the world right now. But tell us about that journey, because I know it wasn't a straight line into jewelry and design.
No, definitely it wasn't. So before I go on, thanks a lot. Thank you so much for having me on this show. So great to be here. I just, going back to when I was a teenager, really, that's where we have to go back to. And I always had a creative side to me. I always loved art. I was painting, drawing, things like that. I took art through high school and even into university. But I was making Barbie clothes in the sewing machine when I was 14. I think I inherited the sewing gene from my grandmother. My grandmother would sew everything. And I used to just design with different old pieces of fabric, Barbie clothes. And I have a younger sister and she was still playing with Barbie. So it's just great. I would come up with the clothes, try them on, and so on. And I also sewed and I had an interest in fashion design at that point in time as well. And I really was wanting to go to Ontario College of Art, but at the time, and as we are, told when we grow up, like you're supposed to go to school and you're supposed to go to post-secondary education, get a good job, make money, have a family, and then work at your job 30 years or whatever, and then retire.
Yeah, tick, 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 all the boxes. That's what we're supposed to do.
And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And I was good at math, and I was always good at school, but I also was good at math, and I had an interest in it. So my parents kind of steered me towards going to U of T for Bachelor of Commerce, and that's what I ended up doing. I got double major with economics and then a minor in psychology as well. And I went on to be an accountant. So that was my journey. I started off doing audits. Then I worked for the provincial government, the Ontario Financing Authority, supporting the trading floor that issues the debt of the province. And then my last job was at Bank of Montreal, where I was doing accounting for derivatives and complex financial instruments. So
that was a bunch of words that I probably should know. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. So it was something, I enjoyed the work, but I definitely did not fit into the corporate world. I didn't enjoy most things about corporate. Anytime that you would ask, why is something done this way? Well, it was always done this way. This is the way you do it.
Right.
And as for wearing jewelry as an accountant, well, they looked at me like I had two heads. So that was just not to be. Oh, and going back to high school as well, I had to wear a uniform, and I didn't like the fact that I was wearing a uniform and looking the same as everyone else. So I decided to just load on the jewelry. I wore a lot of jewelry to try to, make myself individual that stands out, like not
Absolutely.
look the same as everyone else. And so I actually ended up going to a bead store on Queen Street and picked up some beads, and I just started making something. And that continued through the accounting career. So basically, I was an accountant for just over 20 years. Essentially, that's when I came back to work after March break. It was right after coming back from March break that I went into a meeting with my boss at the time, and she just gave me an envelope and said, "I'm sorry." And I was like, what's going on? And basically that was my package there, right? And I was 12 years at BMO, and it was total shock to me. Total shock. I was just, I didn't know, I don't know what my emotions were at that point in time. It was just a total shock, like I say. Right. And then they just said, we can call you a cab to go home.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you can come back and get your stuff on another weekend, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just, I was in total shock. And then I came home to an empty house. I'm like, oh, like I just didn't know. I felt like I was, you know what? Actually, when I think about it, it's kind of like when they shut down everything for COVID and the
Mm,
NBA got shut down. It was kind of that same feeling like, what is happening? Am I in some kind of movie?
right.
And so anyhow, I took the time to process. Well, sorry, I took the summer off. Yeah, basically
Good.
to be with my kids and everything like that. And then I decided, you know what, this is it. This is what I've always wanted to do. I've always had a passion for creating things, and I decided to just start making some jewelry, bought some supplies, and I decided to have an open house and invited everybody I know to come and have a look. And then I started a website.
and then it just was.
Just kind of carried on from there. Yep.
So brilliant. So brilliant. And when you finally, I mean, kind of not by choice, but by gift, perhaps, got the opportunity.
That's exactly it. We have to remember that was a gift.
Right.
Because I wasn't going to do that on my own.
Right.
I needed that push.
Yeah, no, and it was, I mean, I think there's so many women who are in that boat, like, well, I mean, I don't hate my job, and I'm still pretty good at it, and it's kind of like guaranteed money. I mean, I can deal with that and this, and eventually we kind of forget that the things that we're dealing with are far outweighing the reasons why we think we're staying. Anyway, but the universe provides as it does, and so when you were able to start taking those steps, which I'm sure at the beginning we're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. What was that experience like? Was it like sort of did it happen fairly quickly? Did you continue to just sort of stay doing your own thing? Because I know you do a variety of things now. So what sort of prompted you to go from, I'm just going to make jewelry and have a little open house, to I'm going to do all of these things included? And again, we'll sort of get to all the bits and pieces that you've brought into your beautiful business. But what is that like? Or what maybe prompted you to just keep going and keep going and keep going?
Yeah, it was funny because I was already on Facebook for other reasons. I was playing slots. That was a totally different thing.
That was totally the thing then.
But so I don't know where I saw it or how I saw it or what, but I happened to see a mompreneurs event, a luncheon, and I thought, well, I'm going to go to this. So that was my first thing. And if you knew me from before, when I was at the bank, I would not go to any extra social things. I wouldn't speak to other people. I wouldn't go up and talk to somebody I didn't know. And I decided I was just going to go to this lunch. And so I did. And I went to this lunch and met some people. And that was like my first step into networking. And then it kind of grew from that. And at the same time, I found that I really wanted to learn. I wanted to learn. And I had, 20 years at the bank, or not the bank, sorry, 20 years in different corporate roles. I really, in terms of personal development, what did we do? We had a time management course. And I think that was way out there. Yeah. It was Excel and Word and things like that, but time management was, or how to be productive or something like that.
Right.
And so really I didn't do anything in the way of personal development. And then since being an entrepreneur, I've just dove right into it. I've gone through so many courses, so many webinars, personal development conferences that I've attended. And the networking just expanded and expanded. And I found that also, well, it's huge, right? Going from corporate to being an entrepreneur, I had no idea. And I couldn't believe these amazing people that I met as well. And I just thought, wow, look at what these people are doing. And just thinking into my corporate career. And I just thought, there's so much more to life.
Right.
and there's so much more to learn, and you can never know everything.
Right.
You can, you never stop learning.
So fascinating. You know how much I love that. And if, for the listeners, you've been with me for longer than a minute, I'm all about learning all the things that you can, that excite you, that light you up, that fascinate you, and that can draw you in. And I keep coming back to something in my head. So I just wanted to mention it. So I find it an interesting thing, and maybe you can share your thoughts on this, that you were good at accounting. You were good at your job. You were good with numbers. You were a bright student, and you went through the double major. That isn't someone who is just biding their time. That is someone you committed, and you did the work, and you were there. And I wonder what it would have been like if we didn't feel this pressure under under externally imposed identifiers. Like, you're an accountant, thou shalt XYZ, because I believe that you're not the only one. You're not the only one who leaves the corporate, very straight-edged world to then go and do something fascinating and fantastical, right? And perhaps we've just gotten so used to living completely compartmentalized in order to earn money that we forget that what would it be like if we could literally just be ourselves and do the great work that we love to do that just happens to be corporate. I mean, for you following your art path was a great way for you to explore yourself and do all of those things, but that you didn't stop knowing the things you knew. And for other individuals who maybe don't want to dive into something as a full entrepreneur, but want to be able to be themselves, to wear the statement pieces while sitting in a board meeting, and I think of some of the stereotypical things, like my husband, he's not even in the corporate world, but he does work in an industry where he has to wear a suit every day. And the only thing that's exciting are his socks. The only thing, right? And it's a big deal which socks he owns, because they have to be exciting, because for him, it's the only thing that is of him that he has on his body. And so I know for many women, whether, that might be a statement piece or a piece of jewelry, but something that's like, this is me, maybe it's earrings. And to feel like you're under this sort of pressure that you can't even do that and still be good at what you like. You can't be this if you like these things, and you can't be this. Oh man, that just sucks. And
yeah.
And anyway, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. If you ever thought about what it would be like to be Michele full on and be able to still do that work that allowed you to, there were benefits to all the things that you were doing before. Then you stayed there for 20 years. It wasn't because it was the worst job on the planet. Right. So have you ever thought about what it would have been like if your worlds had sort of blended?
Right. That's a very interesting question. And, that's what should be, for sure. It's something that I almost think that what we're going through right now with COVID and everything is going to shed light on a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Time for people to actually not fit into a mold and be who they want to be, but as well from a whole career point of view and corporate jobs of the future and things like that. It's not going to be defined the same way anymore. I really don't think so. And especially when you talk to the younger people.
Right.
I don't know. I think the whole internet, we grew up pre-internet, and so that having the internet at your fingertips, and now with your phone being more powerful than a home computer, it's like it's opened up so many opportunities, and it opened up the whole world to see that you can make money and be yourself and be the person you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to fit into a mold and these different roles and responsibilities that have been defined since the industrial age. I don't know. Yeah. And so I think that it's just and if as so many entrepreneurs so many female entrepreneurs previously were in corporate and are now doing what they want, and it's just like it's become so common I don't know if I want to say common, but it's like we're told, from a young age that what we're supposed to, society tells us what we're supposed to do,
Right.
and what we're supposed to look like, what we're supposed to act like, what we're supposed to say, what our life is supposed to look like, the path that we're supposed to follow, and so on. And I think that all of that needs to change. Like, we need a major shakeup, because there's no reason you can't be yourself and be like, there's no reason I couldn't be an accountant and come to work wearing this necklace.
Absolutely. Your choice of jewelry does not impact your capacity to be an accountant, or to do
a job.
That involves your brain, because your jewelry does not somehow change the capacity of your brain, right? And I think that you're absolutely right. The world does need a big shift, and I think the shift is here in more ways than one at 2020. I mean, there we go. And I think you're right that breaking out of those external pressures, but also the ones that we've internalized. So many of us, it's not that we believe someone else is imparting to-dos on us. We truly have adopted them, right? They become, well, this is what I do. It's not questioned. And yet now, here we are entering into people's homes every day for work, right? And so initially there was the whole, well, I don't want my life to be seen, because that's not what we do. And I mean, I think a lot of people are at the point, well, okay, like maybe I'll clean up this part, but for the most part, just so that, my dog's going to bark and my kid's going to yell and this is going to happen and the doorbell's going to ring. And because this is my life. And I'm still a quality individual. I can do my job. And I think more people are recognizing that. Sorry. I just think that
Right.
The decisions you made at that time, which were the ones that needed to be made, the choices are now becoming much more open than they were for us when we were younger, where we didn't feel the choice was there, or the choice was either you be you or you be successful.
Actually, you're right when you say that, because I do remember my parents saying to me about when I said I want to be a fashion designer, it was like, well, you're just going to be a starving artist then.
Right.
You're not going to make any money. And, like, it was what it was, right? That was, like I say, back then, pre-internet, people had, prior to that, like when my mom was growing up, she had the choice: teacher, nurse, or secretary. I think that was kind of the thing.
Yep.
Those were, that's what you have to do. And she went to become a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, the world is so much more wide open now. And also, I think there's just so much more acceptance of people actually being who they truly are.
And now, acknowledging... Sorry, go ahead.
I've never been anybody to judge anyone in terms of what they wear. I don't really care. Wear what you want, do what you want, dye your hair purple and have a mohawk. I don't really care. It doesn't have anything to do with the person you are in terms of the work you can do and the intelligence you have, and so on and so forth.
I think what's coming to light, which I think many industries have been familiar with, but the sort of the corporate, or I don't want to say, it's not about just money, but the standard of living has been missing out on the value of creativity. Whereas 21st century skills, one of the top ones is creative thinking. So because again, everything we need is right here on the phone. So it's not about content. I can know anything in about a split second, but can I do anything with it? So my capacity to creatively think, that's the thing, that's the one. And so it is in a high finance, high pressure, high stress job's best interest for me to also have my creativity explored and loved up on, because it makes me better at being able to handle stuff. And I think there are definitely industries who are capitalizing on that, big businesses that have opportunities for individuals to to tap into both sides of themselves, but they're not the norm. And they're definitely still seen as outliers. And they're not part of that patriarchal system that is still very, very much on top of us. So you're right, a change needs to occur, and it is happening. And it's through individuals who are choosing to raise their voice to be able to say, my capacity to create does not diminish my ability to do great corporate work. It actually enhances it. It makes me more of myself, which then puts me in a better position to do a better job that you're asking for. And so I look to people like yourself who have done that, have walked that path. I did not do corporate. I was in education prior to this. So it does have its own sort of turning points and parallels. But there's so many of us who are still very much entrenched in those beliefs that, well, this is what I have to do because this makes the money. And this other stuff, the reason your parents and people all over the planet call it starving artists is that is a belief system that has been held onto. And it diminishes the greatness of art, right? So there we have these sort of two pieces. You need to do this to be successful. And if you do this, you'll be unsuccessful. Like it's not, they sort of unfortunately complement each other. So Michele, tell me a little bit about how you are sharing your story and expressing your journey through your art and through the work that you're doing.
Right. So basically I've been, as I said, I've been doing all kinds of networking and I've belonged to networking groups, and I'm actually a leader for the Fem City Etobicoke collective group as well. And when COVID hit and we were shut down, I found myself kind of, being sucked into that black hole of fear and not knowing what to do and that kind of thing, because of course, with myself having vendor events lined up that were all being postponed and everything like that, I really wanted to help others and share the message of positivity out there. So I decided to start an interview series where I'm interviewing entrepreneurs to talk about keeping a positive mindset and pivoting in your business and your life, because really, I think for a lot of us, it's given us the time to sit back and be present and decide what our values are and who we want to be, and were we happy living the life we were living before. Because as I know, after talking to so many people, and I know myself, the way that I was going, it was always thinking of the next thing that was happening and the next thing on your schedule, and never actually sitting to be present with yourself, always rushing around from place to place and never feeling like I could catch up.
Right. That's huge.
That was the way that it was. And then all of a sudden, a month has gone by and you don't even know where the month went. So right. I decided to, like I say, so I've interviewed all different entrepreneurs, and of course yourself included as well. You were one of my early guests. You were one of the ones I first thought of that I knew had a great message to share with the world. And so this has really helped me, I think, to deal with my own emotions going through this, as well as just being able to share and the message is that everybody's going through the same thing. Everyone has the same feelings. It's all been a roller coaster for all of us, but we all need to support one another. And by sharing a message of positivity and advice for how to keep a positive mindset and things like that, it just helps all of us. As we know, we're all in a community together where we can help to raise each other up. And that's, I've always, I really want to grow, like I said, with this personal development that I've been going through, and inspire others to continue. And there's so much opportunity out there right now, as opposed to being worried about what it's doing to us. Just think that it's actually doing something for us, and it's giving us the chance to decide who we want to be, to get, if there's something you wanted to do that you've always wanted to do in your life, you had the chance to do it. Like we said, the internet's there. You can search anything you want, any interest you have. Just think back to things that you wanted to do as a kid,
Right.
that you enjoyed as doing as a child. But of course, like we said, as you get older and you're told, you know, you have to have a family and you have to look after the kids. And we know how it is as moms, that your kids come first and you're always putting yourself on the back burner. And so it's time to think about what really makes you happy in this life.
It is so wonderful what you're doing. And how many interviews have you done up to this point? It feels like a ton.
Yeah, I'm around 97. So
Holy
I will be doing my 100th episode very shortly, and I'll have to have a little maybe I'll have to do a little giveaway then.
Awesome.
When I get to 100. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I think
because I have to celebrate 100, right?
100%.
Just like your 100 Women on Fire.
Absolutely. It's a big number and it's worth celebrating. I think that you hit on some really important pieces there. The messaging that you're sharing with the guests that you have, entrepreneurs who are pivoting with positivity and who are taking this time to sort of pause and reflect and be in the moment and recognize where the gifts are, and that life is happening for us, not necessarily to us. And you're absolutely right. You know, it is very clear across the board, and so many people that I've talked to, that this has been a time of reflection, whether you have been at home or that your job has taken you to another level because of the nature of your work. It still put us in a position of, what do I really want to be doing right now? And I think that it doesn't matter whether that's entrepreneur or if you're thinking about the other roles in your life. So for many of us, there's the mom role, and you hit it when you said, you know, it's very common and it's socially acceptable to be putting your children first and yourself on the other side of it.
Actually, that's
right. It's that, again, one of those externals, like check the box. Did you put yourself last? Yes, I did. Okay, I win the mom trophy because I am the last of the last. Yet science tells us, and society, the sort of the underground and like all of the supportive communities that you get into, they'll be the first to tell you that when you put yourself first, you have more to give. You have not just energy, but the self that you are feeding then becomes this self that you would want to show up as mom, as career person, as entrepreneur, and it feels easier to do that. And so it's not that any of those roles are easy, but that there's an ease to them when you show up as your full self. But you can't be your full self if you're last, because you're empty as fuck, right? Like that's part of it. And so I think the stories that you are sharing in your work, the stories that we're sharing here on this podcast, and the ones that we're hearing all over, the ones that are really resonating are the ones where people are like, yeah, it's okay for me to want things. And my happiness is a thing. Didn't know that before, but apparently it is. And so, you know, you had said, Google anything. I would start with like, dial it back and go figure out, like, give yourself permission to Google anything, to go out there and like openly explore and experience things that are actually designed to make you happy first. Because again, when you do that, you got more to offer. You know, I'm sure you know the analogy, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
Well, I've heard this and it resonates with me that it's not about pouring from your cup, it's that you give the spillover away, so that you're constantly overfilling your cup, and it's what pours out that everybody else gets to have. And so you're not actually going through the cycle of like fill, empty, fill, empty. You're just constantly just there. And
right.
And I know for creatives like yourself, you know, diving full on into personal development that's combined with your professional creative development, and then doing that further exploration. So recently you became Reiki certified so that you could infuse Reiki energy into your jewelry. What a beautiful compliment to your journey and to the work that you've been doing.
Right.
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing and how you're showing up in all the areas. Um, what is next for you? What is coming up in the world of Michele Maher?
Right. That's a great question. Well, you know, when I started doing those interviews, again, it was just because I didn't know what to do, and I just stepped into action. Started doing one, I think it was the Monday of March break. So right after we were shut down, I just dove into it. So, and that goes to also, stepping out of your comfort zone. I guess I needed that to get my butt in action, butt in gear or whatever.
Right.
Because I said I was going to do videos for the last year for my jewelry, and of course, I kept pushing it off. I didn't, nobody wants to do videos. Everybody says they don't, but you have to do it. Like that's when I just thought Nike's just do it.
Yep.
Slogan is brilliant. It really is, because that's it. Like, I just stepped into it. I started doing the interviews. I didn't know at that point, again, though, we thought it was going to be temporary.
Right.
We thought like a little 2-week shutdown or a month, whatever it's going to be, and then we'll be back to normal. And that was the thing everyone's saying, when we get back to normal, which
Right.
we know at this point in time, there's no such a thing. Forget
Right.
that. And we don't want to go back to that, because we don't want to go back to the way we were living. That was glorified busy too, right?
Yep.
If you think about it, how we're raised to be thinking that busy is good.
Mm. And I have a theory. So I have no problems with busy as long as I don't feel empty. So I enjoy doing things with intention, so that when I go to bed, I go, that was awesome. I'm tired. I'm okay with being tired. I did stuff.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
But I feel full, not empty. Yet that distinction was never made for us. It was just stay busy. And if you're not busy, you're not productive, you're useless. And just like lie down. You're not doing anything, right? That's how it felt.
Right.
And so we just kept being busy, not ever getting any guidance on how to be happy, and to then be selective and discerning about where we actually put our attention. Busyness is the glorified busyness. That's definitely what it is, and what we were living into was just that the busy was glorified, not just the inside of that, like busy doing what, right?
Yeah, well, we were busy doing nothing really, like a lot of time. But so anyhow, so I'm enjoying these interviews. I'm continuing these interviews. I've got a logo and, and everything. So I want to continue those, but I want to, and the other thing is, at the beginning of this year, I was working on my branding and messaging, and I was doing actually I got a photo shoot done in March 10th, so right before we shut down. So I'm so glad that we got that done.
Yeah.
Got some fabulous photos from it. And then it was a matter of and then I was very intentional with my vendor events that I was picking to go through this year. And then of course, as we know, they've been postponed and whatever. So it's a matter of figuring out what I'm going to do in terms of the jewelry and doing videos, which is what I have been doing, some videos, but I really need to step that up. So that's the next thing. I need to step up my videos online, step up my Instagram, like my Instagram presence is there, but I need to step it up. And what I have found is the most important thing, that the one thing is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Just listening to different podcasts, and somebody who just, you start out with 1-2 people, whatever you have, and all of a sudden you've got 1 million downloads. So, but it's just, you have to be consistent, and everybody starts from that spot of having 1 or 2 people, just like, just like the videos, I might have 1 or 2 people watching it, but just being consistent. Yeah. And I need to really get that under, under
All
my
right.
belt.
So all the listeners, give Michele a hand here. So get on to her Instagram. The link will be here. And encourage her to make more videos because you want to see more of her amazing, amazing work, and potentially get your hands on some because it's glorious. And I love your new branding. I love everything about it. And it really feels like you. And it does incorporate, even though you perhaps at the time didn't know you would be incorporating so much in relation to personal development and positivity, but that is you. And so that has been shining through since the beginning. So thank you, Michele. So before we sign off, your journey has been a bit of a roller coaster, and you are, in my opinion, really flourishing in the face of uncertainty. And so I'm wondering what it is that you would perhaps share with a woman who is sort of facing that same idea. You know, you had alluded to your being handed the package to being very similar feeling to what happened when we were hit with the pandemic. What bit of advice would you offer someone who is sort of looking down at uncertainty and needing to make some decisions?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is that worry really doesn't help you. Worry doesn't serve you at all. And that's what I did find myself getting into, a lot of worry, like worry of the future and the uncertainty around it. It's not going to change anything. All that it does is just affect you and make you anxious and so on and so forth. And there really is nothing you can do about it. Even as we go on now, when you step outside the house or you get into your car, you really don't have control, even though it's perceived control. You think you have control, but something could happen to you just like that. I don't want to be morbid or anything like that, but the fact is that we really don't have control of everything, even though we think we do.
Right.
The other thing is, just don't listen to other people and their opinions of what you should and shouldn't do, because most important is to listen to yourself and your own gut. People are always going to say things, no matter what. You're always going to have those people saying what you should and shouldn't do, and it's really time. You have to be yourself. You're unique. You have to realize that there's no other you. You're unique. Be yourself and show the world who you truly are, and you know, you're here for a purpose.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Michele. Thank you for your time, for sharing your story with us. And I am very excited to say that you will be joining us at the second 100 Women on Fire event, virtual event this year, as one of our amazing sponsors. So if you are a ticket holder, then please look for Michele there. She's going to be sharing all of her beautiful work with us. And I look forward to watching some more of your videos and to just sort of see what the next chapter is in your story. So thank you, Michele.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dion. And I'm looking forward to the event. It was fabulous last year, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing time. So thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join Dion again next week to learn more about what you can do to go from hot mess to awesomeness.